Twitter workers freaking out over Elon Musk and internal Slack messages. Leaked internal communications by Twitter employees reveal woke employees are overtaken by despair and anger about Elon Musk's month-long effort to acquire Twitter. Musk announced he would purchase the company for $44 billion on Monday, and the deal concludes a month-long saga that began with Musk first tweeting out polls and his thoughts about the decline of free speech on Twitter. On the business communication platform Slack, some Twitter employees vented against the new owner, leaked messages reveal. Physically cringy watching Elon talk about free speech, a site reliability engineer who identifies as a non binary, transgender, and plural person wrote. What is a plural person? What is this? I have no clue. Feel free to put it in the comment section because I have no clue what a plural person is. We're all going through the 5 stages of grief in cycles, and everyone's nerves are frazzled, wrote a senior staff software engineer who called Musk an a-hole and tried to console his colleagues. We're all spinning our wheels and coming up with worst-case scenarios. Trump returns. No more moderation. The fact is that Musk has not talked about what he's planning on doing in any detail outside of broad sweeping statements that could be easily seen as hyperbolic showboating. Now, that comment's interesting, right? For those that don't know, Elon Musk said that he's going to be freeing the code so that there's transparency as to how the algorithm is working. And in terms of free speech is going to be held to the highest degree to that country's laws, right? And look, some countries have stricter laws on free speech. The United States has a pretty big allowance on free speech. So, he did say what he was going to do. A senior staff video engineer announced he would be quitting. Not the place to say it, perhaps, but I will not work for this company after the takeover. Now, see, isn't that funny? He's not going to work for this company after the takeover, right? Which means he's willing to take 6 months of pay until he finally ends up basically getting fired. Right? Kind of funny. If you really believe what you believed, you would just leave. So following the back and forth among multiple employees angry about the news, some warned that their communications on Slack could be searched. The employees then moved their conversations onto their personal devices using the encrypted chat application Signal. Now, the interesting thing about this, right, you got to kind of like worry a little bit is like, for those people who don't know how these social media apps work, if you ever listen to any of these content moderation employees where they like are whistleblowers and they talk about the kinds of stuff that they see, block, ban, delete, call cops for, and all that kind of stuff, any single one of these content moderation employees can see what every single person posted or sent in their DMs to other people. So if you are a public figure, or even if you're not a public figure on Twitter, there are employees in that company that can literally read everything that you sent to another person. Okay? They can see all the photos, all the videos that you sent to another person or received from another person. So it will make you wonder, wait a minute, how much dirt do they end up having on so many different public figures? How much power do they have? Twitter's leadership appeared to predict an internal backlash and possible sabotage when it locked down the ability of its employees to make changes to the platform through Friday. And leading up to Monday's deal, Twitter employees had already been venting for weeks on Slack about Musk and defending the platform's moderation and enforcement. A Musk owned Twitter is one of the greatest threats to the 2022 and 2024 elections. We are effed if this happens. Oh, why is that the greatest threats to the 2022 and 24 elections? Are you saying that Twitter has massive power over the course of an election? That they can influence an election? You know? A reliability engineering manager said Musk's views on free speech is cover for "I want to not be held accountable for saying or amplifying harmful things." Another engineer wrote that self-reported censorship is sometimes just horrible people effing around and then finding out. A senior content strategist responded, and it doesn't happen often enough. So then, basically what is exactly happening on Twitter already? That has been happening on Twitter already? That senior content strategist who worked as a left-wing political operative outside of Twitter led many of the conversations that were heavily critical of Musk. And so I pulled this up, so let's read some of it. Uh, let's see, open image in new tab. Okay, hold on. Let's see, open image in new tab. So suspending the Twitter account of a major news organization for publishing a truthful story was obviously incredibly inappropriate. From Elon Musk. And then Connor Campbell replying, right? That's not what happened. Twitter had a policy about hacked documents. We applied this policy equally. The merits of that policy are debatable, but it wasn't targeted censorship, which is obviously BS. And Connor Campbell, so many replies. I am not looking for a new job. I am excited to work with Elon Musk. I think that a lot of his proposals will be great for our company, and where we disagree, a dialogue can form. I want this platform, me, be productive for everyone, including all the folk dragging me. I don't really believe that's his actual views, but who knows? Sometimes I think it can't be as bad as I'm imagining it'll be. Then I see something like this and I'm all, nope, it's be even worse. She wrote, responding to a must tweet last week. But not all employees kept their views within internal business chats. Some of the strongest comments against Musk were made publicly on employees' Twitter accounts. Addison Hohenstein, a software engineer, tweeted, "You asked me why Elon Musk buying 9.2% of Twitter and getting a board seat is bad, and I'm explaining why this was clearly not his end goal, and things will certainly get worse and potentially be dangerous for democracy and global affairs." Jay Holler, an engineering manager, broke down in multiple tweets earlier in the month when it was announced that Musk could take on a leadership role. The problem with at Elon Musk is that he has demonstrated a pattern of harmful behavior consistently that disproportionately impacts marginalized people, so maybe let's not give him any more power than he already stole, Holler later tweeted. I'm radicalized now. But here's the thing. You make these accusations without providing any proof. That's kind of odd. And Connor Campbell, a non-binary front-end engineer, responded directly to Musk on Tuesday, defending Twitter censorship. Blah, 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 blah. Laura Gomez, who used to lead localization for Twitter, tweeted, "A Musk on Twitter's blah, 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 separately on Slack, blah, 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 blah." Okay, so separately on Slack, multiple Twitter employees disparaged this journalist repeatedly for posting screenshots of their colleagues' publicly available tweets. They discussed ways they thought his tweets could be a violation of Twitter's policies. How is this no a-hole verified as a senior staff software engineer? Multiple employees used insults to refer to this journalist before conceding that the tweets didn't violate their rules. They suggested to one another to remove mentions of Twitter employment in their Twitter biographies. Though many of the internal Slack comments were personally critical of Musk and his views, a few employees weren't as outraged and some actively pushed back. I don't know much about him. I don't really care. I would just love free speech to be the highest priority. I don't care who leads that, especially for minorities like myself. I had no rights at all in my home country, said a woman in the design department. Another software engineer wrote, I do think it's obvious that our policies are biased. Everyone has a bias, and I would personally like to see more balance. I don't know if Musk is the right person to do that, but the idea of someone who might be less biased towards the things we are already biased on is something that I like. And it's kind of cool to see some people have an open mind, right? And I guess that's pretty much it for this one. But feel free to give your thoughts. If you want to learn how to get a debt and master your money, go to 40inbox.com. Either way, it's a very interesting situation. And personally, I believe Elon Musk is going to make Twitter a very profitable company in the next few years if the deal truly ends up going through.